Good morning, students. Good morning, all of you. I hope you all are well and following the COVID precaution as well. And as far as your notebook concerned, I got your notebook and I have checked that. But some of the students haven't completed their work. So please complete your work. Now we will start the next chapter, that is combustion and flame, and the topics which we're gonna cover in this chapter are introduction, what is combustion, the difference between combustible and non-combustible substances, ignition temperature, fire control, types of combustion, flame, structure of flame, and fuel efficiency. Okay, so we will discuss about this in detail. Now, have you seen a candle burning, or have you ever ignited a matchstick? You must have used the Bunsen burner in your chemistry laboratory to heat substances of chemical inside the test tube. Or not, then we will do this in school when you will come at school. Okay, so when we try to burn a log of wood or a charcoal or a coal or anything, what happened to these substances? What do you see when a candle is burning? What do you see? We see the fire. So we see the flame of the candle. Similarly, when Bunsen burner is on, we can see the flame again. When you burn wood, you can actually see the fire which is being produced. The gas burner, when switched on, again it produces flame. You see flame, sorry. So all of these flame and fire, they all look very different from each other. Do you think that the flame of candle and the flame of the gases come out, both look similar? No. Even their color is different, their appearance is different. So now in this lesson we are going to discuss all about burning, how this phenomenon, how this process of burning take place. Now what we call as burning in common term is what is known as combustion in science. So in combustion we will see what is the exact process and how does it produce fire. Is it that all substances can give rise to fire and flame? So we are going to discuss all about that. So let us start with what is combustion. So it is a process in which a substance reacts with oxygen to release heat and light. Now what happens when you light a candle? You see the fire, right? So because of that fire, if you try to light a candle in a dark mode, when the candle is lit, the fire is actually gives light to the entire room. So it actually releases light. And if you try to bring your finger near the candle, you feel hot because heat is also released during the process of combustion. So you can think of combustion as the process of burning. But how do we define this process scientifically? Because what exactly happening is that so much of heat and light is being produced. Now basically all that is happening is the substance is reacting with oxygen. Now this is very crucial. Combustion can take place only when oxygen is present in the surrounding. If there is no oxygen, there will be no combustion at all. There will be no burning. So this is basically combustion. Now, when you talk about a release of heat and light, now it is not necessary that a light has to be released during combustion of all the substances. Light may be released, light may not be released. If light is released, then light can be released in the form of flame. It can be released in the form of glow. For example, if you try to compare the process of combustion in a candle and a coal, so and here you see coal and candle. So in both the cases, if you burn both of them, what I am trying to explain is, if I burn both of these, the process that is taking place is combustion. Because as soon as I burn the substance, that is coal or the wax of a candle, it is reacting with the oxygen of the surrounding. And due to that reaction, a lot of heat and a lot of light is being produced. Now if you compare these two scenarios, So in this scenario, you really do not get fire, and you see a flame. You do not see a flame. You see a reddish glow on the coal. That happens due to combustion. Whereas in case of candle, you can very distinctly see the presence of this flame. Now that, so it depends how light gets emitted in different substances. It depends one substance to another. Now again, it is now also very important that all the substances with is burned to release heat. So we can say that not all substances are undergo combustion. You take example of matchstick. Do you think that matchstick undergoes combustion? Yes, it does. Now, since I was talking about substance which does not undergo combustion, that confuse you, but matchstick undergo combustion, because you see, what do you actually need to do so that the matchstick catches fire? All you need to do is you have to rub it or strike it against a side of a matchbox. So when you strike it, there is a friction, and there is a friction, there is a heat. The matchstick gets melt, and you see the flame, and the light is released. Heat is also released. You can feel that if you bring your hand near it, you feel heat. So that's how matchstick undergo combustion. So let us look at some of the example of combustible substances. Now, what is combustible substances? So those substances which burn easily, which undergo combustion to release heat and sometimes light. So just now I was telling you that not all the substances can not all substances can burn to release heat. So those substances which can burn to release heat, they are called combustible substances, and examples are all these things which you see on the screen. Now paper, if you see paper, do you think that paper burns easily? At least when you bring matchstick, it catches fire. So paper is combustible. You take an example of a matchstick, it easily catches fire. You take example of diesel, petrol, kerosene. You take all these examples, you see that they are very easily catches fire. That is why you would have seen that in a petrol pumps, people are not allowed to smoke, because the chances are very high that if in case somebody burning cigarette or a matchstick there, the chances of petrol catching fire is very high. So that is why it is not allowed there. You take example of paints. You take example of magnesium, aluminium powder. Most of the metal as such, like if you get taking an example of iron or any metal as such, they are non-combustible. They do not burn to release heat. But some metal in the powder form, for example, aluminium powder or magnesium powder, all these powdered form of metals, they are combustible. That is, they get burned to release heat. So these are all example of combustible substances. Now it is not just that all these combustible substances they undergo combustion in different ways. Okay, so some produces huge fire, some produces flame, some produces has just some sort of glow. So that varies from substance to substance. On the other hand, we have a non-combustible substances which do not undergo combustion to release energy. They will not get burned to release energy. Let us look at some examples. Most of the metals are non-combustible. So if you take a piece of iron, just take and for example, you just take an iron nail. So if you take this iron nail and put it in a fire, you see the nail burns? No, nothing happens to the nail. Okay, it's not combustibles. Glasses or spoon, steel also contain a metal, so steel also doesn't burn. So you take an example of stones, rocks. So they are all example of non-combustible substances. You think of any of these substances and you will be able to find that they do not burn easily to release heat. So they are as non-combustible substances, categorized as non-combustible substance. Now one thing strike in your mind, that combustible substances which we are talking about, what are they? They are substances which have been burned, during which they are reacting with oxygen and they are releasing a lot of heat and light. So basically they are producing a lot of energy in the form of heat. So they are nothing but a fuel. They are acting as fuel. So a fuel are nothing but a combustible substances which release enough heat energy to be used for domestic and industrial purposes. So basically any fuel, what is a fuel? A lot of example comes to your mind when you think of fuel. You'll think of coal, petroleum, you think of natural gas. These all are example of fuel. Petrol, diesel, these are all fuel. Why they are fuel? Because they are capable of generating huge energy. Okay, how do they generate energy? By the process of combustion. Only when they are able to release a lot of energy, and that energy is released in the form of heat, and this process is combustion. So basically fuel are nothing but a combustible substances, but at the same time not all the combustible substances are fuel. Only those substances which release sufficient amount of energy, so that energy can be utilized for different purposes. For example, the energy is generated by burning coal is utilized in several thermal plants to generate electricity. Right. Similarly, the energy that is generated for petroleum or diesel, that is used to run vehicles. So that way the energy is used enough to be used for different purposes. Okay, so let us look at some example of fuel. So first example is coal. So we can evenly look at some other example like petroleum, where you have petrol, diesel. These are also the example of fuel. Now you have example of the LPG, which is just inside your cylinder at your houses. It has, these are all, also produces sufficient heat energy which is used for domestic purpose for cooking. Natural gas, biogas, or cow dung cakes. In fact, in villages, in rural areas, you would have seen that they really do not use LPG. They often use cow dung cakes, and with that they try to prepare their food. So cow dung cakes, however, there are a lot of disadvantages associated with cow dung cakes, because they produce a lot of pollution, a lot of smoke, which is disadvantage. Okay, but yes, they are still considered as a good fuel because they generate a lot of energy. Wood is another example of fuel when the energy generating is huge enough that you can actually prepare food. So you can actually cook anything. Now when we talk about fuel, what do you think defines a good fuel? How do we know that which is a good fuel and which is not? I have given you so many examples, but like cow dung is used as a fuel, but it is not a good fuel because it produces a lot of smoke. Okay, so now in a similar way, what are those characteristics which define whether a fuel is a good fuel or a bad fuel? So let us quickly look at the characteristics of a good fuel. First of all, it should be easily available. If that fuel is not available, then there is no point that if fuel is not accessible, we cannot use it. So even though it has a lot of properties, but that doesn't make any sense. Okay, it has to be cheap. If it is not cheap, then it is not available to everyone. It is not economical. Burns easily to release heat. Fuel is something which generates energy. In order to generate energy, it has to react with oxygen. Now, the easier the reaction with oxygen, the better it is. Okay, because then it immediately produces a lot of energy. So, burns easily to release heat is also most important thing. It should burn very easily and it should release a large amount of heat. So the larger the amount of heat it produces, the larger energy it produces, and that huge energy can be utilized for different domestic purposes or industrial purposes. Does not leave undesirable residue behind to cause pollution. Now this is very very important when we decide which is a good fuel and which is not. Now most of the fuel, a lot of produces energy, but it produces harmful gases as well. So after being burned, so even if you completely burn a substance, you would see that, for example, if you burn a cow dung cake, ashes left behind, so that is called residue. So whatever is left behind after complete combustion of that substance, that is called residue. So any fuel which leaves behind a lot of residue, then what happens to that residue? If it is something which is harmful, in that it is just using that fuel, actually piling up those waste material in the environment. So whether a fuel is a good or not, it is very important to check the type of residues being left after the process of combustion is over. And a good fuel is one which does not leave a lot of undesirable residue, so that it doesn't cause any pollution. Now it is very important to see that a fuel which we are categorizing as a good fuel is good for environment, because if it is harmful for the environment, then basically there is no point in generating energy for such a fuel, which in turn is causing harm to our environment and is causing harm to us. The another question is, how do we know which fuel produces how much energy? Now we look at all the characteristics of the fuel, and we said that a good fuel is one which generate more amount of energy. But how do we know which generating how much energy? How do we measure? How do we calculate the amount of energy that is produced by the fuel? For that we just introduce the calorific value of a fuel. So calorific value tells us, or it defines the amount of energy that is produced by the fuel. Okay. So calorific value of a fuel is the amount of heat energy that is produced on complete combustion of 1 kg of a fuel. So that is what we want. Okay, we take a fuel and which is burning, and during burning it undergo a reaction with oxygen, and as a result of this reaction a lot of energy will be released in the form of heat. So that amount of energy which is being produced when 1 kg of fuel is burned completely, that is defined as calorific value. So now we have one standard to compare the energy productivity of various fuels. So higher the calorific value of a fuel, higher is the heat energy produced. So better the fuel, if a fuel is good, its calorific value should be high, and the unit in which we measured is kilojoule per kg, and kg stand for energy and kg is for mass. So the amount of fuel that is being burned to produce energy in terms of joules, so therefore the unit is kilojoule per kg. So let us look at the calorific value of various fuels. For example, when we talk about coal, what would be the calorific value of coal? It is somewhere around, so the calorific value of coal is, it's somewhere around 25,000 to 33,000 kilojoule per kg. So that is the calorific value of coal. That means 1 kg of coal is completely burned with, it produced 25,000 to 33,000 of kilojoules of heat energy. You think of petrol. So in case of petrol, it is 45,000 kilojoule per kg. You talk about LPG. So in case of LPG, the value is 55,000 kilojoule per kg. So you see, now since we have a specific value, it becomes very easy to decide which is a better fuel in terms of the amount of energy being produced. So how the highest calorific value of LPG is high, so LPG is a better fuel than petrol and coal in terms of calorific value. You take example of biogas. So this biogas is formed from remains of dead plants and animals. So biogas has a calorific value of around 35,000 to 40,000 kilojoule per kg. You think of wood. So wood have a calorific value of 17,000 to 22,000 kilojoule per kg. So if you compare all these values, you see that the minimum calorific value is that of wood and maximum of is that of LPG. So if I ask you that in terms of the amount of energy produced, which is a better fuel out of these all these five? So the best fuel would be LPG, and the worst one out of these five would be coal. So that's how the calorific value of a fuel help us to decide the heat productivity of a fuel. So now that we have understood what is combustion and which kind of substances undergo combustion, so what do you think? Do you think that combustion can happen just any time we want? A substance will just start burning on its own anytime? That every time that in that case, every time we have been fire, every time everything would have been burned itself. For a paper to catch fire, there is certain criteria which needs to be fulfilled. So only then when those criteria fulfill, then the process of combustion take place. So here we will talk about those three important criteria without which combustion can never happen. And what are those three criteria? The first is the fuel, a combustible substances needed. Until and unless you have a combustible substances, obviously which object will catch fire? You need to have some substance which is easily catch fire. You need air. Why do you need air? Because as I mentioned before also, that oxygen is extremely important for combustion to take place. What happened during combustion? The substance react with oxygen. So without oxygen, there will be no reaction, there will be no energy release. And the third criteria is heat. Now the question is, why do we need heat? So we need heat to increase the temperature of the substance so that it catch fire. So now we are talking about talk about each of these in detail and how they are important for combustion to take place. Now the first thing, that is combustible substance, which we have already discussed that not all the substance really burn. So those substances which easily burn to produce a lot of heat and light, they are called combustible substance. And one such substance, combustible substance, has to be present for combustion. Now we will talk about the second factor, that is air, why it is necessary for combustion. In order to understand this, what we need to do is we will just do a sort of experiment rather. So for this we need a candle which is already lit. So with this lighted candle, what we do, what do you see right now? So the candle is lit and it's like a perfectly going, the flame is there. Now I take a glass and just put it over, inverted glass over this candle. What happens? The candle still glows for some more time, but after some time it goes off. The flame goes off. Why? Why did this happen? Because we did not do anything to blow off the candle. So what you observe till now, that just do one thing, note down the time for which the candle was lit even after that glass was put over it. Initially it was glowing, we put the glass, it still glow for some time. Let's note the time. Let's say it glow for some time, say t1, and after that it went off. So why it get off? Because when we have put this glass, we have actually limited the amount of air which is being provided to the candle. When the glass was not there, there was a plenty of air surrounding the candle. So it was utilizing the air and the process of combustion was taking place. But now when we have put on this glass, it is only that much amount of air which could be accommodated inside this glass. So the candle utilizes all the air which is present inside the glass, and after that, when there is no air, there is no oxygen. Then when there is no oxygen, no combustion can take place, and therefore it just went off. Right? So that's the first set of experiment which tell us that air is necessary for combustion. Now we will do little more experiment with the same thing. Now what I do is I take the same candle, but now I change this glass. I take a bigger glass. So when I take a bigger glass, what happens? Again the candle will glow for some time, and note down the time in this case. Let us suppose this time the time is T2 seconds. Now what you will observe is this time the time for which the candle was blowing, before it again here also it went off after some time, because again here it produces, there is also a limitation inside this glass. So what we observe is that T2 is greater than T1. That means the time for which the candle lighted in the second case is more than the time for which the candle lighted was on in the first case. Why? Because of in the second case the glass was bigger. It was a big glass, and in the first case it was a small glass. So when the glass was small, they have a less amount of air. When there is a less amount of oxygen available, so therefore the candle only for some time, could light for only for some time. So in the second case, the larger amount of air is present inside the big glass, so larger amount of oxygen is present, and therefore the process of combustion would happen for a little longer time, and therefore the candle lighted for a little longer than in case 1. So this experiment prove that yes, air is necessary and have a critical role in combustion. Okay, so we will learn the third factor in the next video, in the next class. So thank you students. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in your Google Meet classes.